I want to make the comment that all the world, all things, all people, all whatever is there, is simply an interplay of consciousness. You have consciousness in this form, this form, this form, that form, the form that you are, and it's all the same unmanifested life. It's unmanifested life that takes physical expression, evolves in whatever physical way it may, and then dissolves. But the underlying life is not remotely touched or anything. The fundamental fear that is deep within the human psyche is that this is all there is to reality. This partial form, which is subject to pain, suffering, destruction, age, bad health, all these things, all of which, in one form or the other, I'm going to experience, right? I am, you are, everyone you know is, all the bad guys in history, all the good people in history, everyone who's going to come later. But they're all simply forms of consciousness. Indiscernible, in a sense, from the leaf, the tree, the shoe, all these things. Obviously, humans are animate. They're sentient. They're people. It's more obvious, but still, like, the whole world, the whole life is an interplay of consciousness. And in order to connect with it more deeply, it's important to be able to see beyond your form identity, right? And ultimately, you're going to have to, because you'll die at some point. And when you die, as Eckhart Tolle says, death is the loss of everything that is not you. So, if you are not this, if you are not this person, right, what are you? If there's more to you than this and this world and what you see within this world, what are you? Well, it can't be defined in words. We can give words, but those are words. The words, your life, your consciousness, the eternity, your whatever. But it's the unanimated space that is prior to all animations. It is the you that's seeing this. It is the you that's experiencing that. It's the you that's living out this form identity. And in a certain way of looking at it, some people posit that every single person that you see is also you, which is to say it's consciousness. It's consciousness, which is you. It's the one consciousness in a differentiated form. Right? And from an egoic standpoint, you can view somebody just as some other, or as an enemy, or as X, Y, and Z. And that's a creation of your mind. Right? I made a video earlier about World War II, and I talked about a movie, a show I saw called Generation War, which is about the Germans versus the Soviets. And basically, millions and millions and millions of people on both sides died in this war. And the funny thing is that it's just consciousness in the form of one ego looking at consciousness in the form of the other. Consciousness in one form becomes very fearful, aggressive, defensive, whatever it is. They become militaristic. Then the other side responds with militarism. And now you're literally looking at an enemy who's shooting at you. Then you shoot back. Then you get shot. And then it just keeps on going on and on and on. To the point that 1/3 of the country became, or 2/3, or some huge amount of the Soviet Union territory just became a wasteland. It went from being maybe something beautiful like this to being a wasteland. So that's what happens with simply a lack of awareness. You see that on a rational level, you think, oh, these are my enemies, and this is happening, and they did this, so we need to do that, and it all makes sense when you're at that level, and once you're already in it. But to really understand at a deeper level, to prevent stuff like that from happening, but more importantly, to feel your own consciousness, see yourself as beyond all identifications, beyond all labels, beyond all ideologies, and then you have the freedom to pick and choose what you want. You can pick and choose what you'd like to believe, what you'd like to think, and those things too can change. Where you'd like to be, yeah. And there are certain aspects of your identity that won't change. You'll have a certain skin color, you'll have a certain height, you'll have a certain whatever, right? Certain features about yourself are not going to change in this life. And you can identify with them in whatever respect, but just know that it's identification. That's all. And you don't need to go much further down that route, down that path. You can, and that's fine, but it's a matter of knowing who you are underneath that, and then allowing the real beauty of your form identity to come into life. Let it come with fullness, not with fear. Let it come with beauty. Let it come with exuberance and joy for the time that it does exist. For the time that it does exist. And then the real you, the consciousness, the actual you, when you're through with this form, when this body can no longer support you, no longer sustain you, you leave the body. And if you look at a dead body, I've seen two, my grandma and my dad, it's not that person that you knew. It's inanimate flesh, which is subject to decomposition within a matter of minutes or hours. It's nothing, actually. It's a heavy, cold, hard thing. It's a carcass, you see. Whereas, a few minutes prior, when the person was alive, there was life in it. There was blood flowing, right? There was a real person in there. So that real person is you. That real person, beyond life and death, beyond mortality. That's the real you. Know thyself, they say. Know thyself.